Comment down below where you're from and if you've ever had any kind of racist interaction in your area. I'd love to hear from you. My Tuesday was shaping up to be as gloriously uneventful as any retiree could hope for. I just polished off my second cup of Earl Grey milk, no sugar, naturally, and was weighing the existential dread of tackling my overflowing laundry basket when the phone rang. Mason Dalrymple speaking, I said, already bracing myself for a telemarketer trying to sell me an extended warranty on my 18-year-old snowblower. Mason, it's Francine. Francine Poppyweather. The voice on the other end was shrill, frantic, and enough to set my molars on edge. Francine Poppyweather wasn't just a name. It was a neighborhood institution of passive aggression and overzealous scrutiny. Self-appointed queen of Maple Grove Estates, Francine wielded her HOA clipboard like a scepter, doling out citations for lawn gnomes and improperly edged driveways with the fury of a suburban tyrant. Francine, I said, forcing civility into my tone. To what do I owe the honor? You won't believe it. It's a travesty, Mason. An outrage, she shrieked. My heart sank. Whatever she was about to tell me would surely require me to mediate some new neighborhood melodrama. That man, Silas Jennings. He's building a cement fence. A fortress, really. On lot 14. It's horrendous. An affront to the aesthetic integrity of Maple Grove. I rubbed my temple. Silas Jennings, of course, was me. And the fence, while solid and certainly cement-based, was a sleek, mid-century modern design. Entirely legal. Entirely within the HOA regulations I'd triple-checked. Francine, I began calmly. The fence is well within code. I personally reviewed the bylaws. Reviewed? What would you know about HOA law? I am the one who keeps this place dignified. I'm calling the authorities. This is a disaster. The line went dead before I could respond. I sighed, downed the rest of my Earl Grey, and headed outside, hoping to complete the fence before Francine summoned the National Guard. When I got to my yard, Francine's cherry red hybrid was already parked halfway across my lawn, her bumper sticker reading, "I break for birdwatching clubs." She paced furiously in front of my property, phone clutched to her ear, pink Crocs kicking up clumps of turf. "Yes, officer," she barked. "It's a concrete monstrosity. I believe he's installing barbed wire. It looks like a prison camp." I had to chuckle. My fence barely reached 4 feet. "Francine," I said, approaching with measured calm. "There is absolutely no barbed wire, and the fence is completely within HOA standards." She whipped around, her perm trembling with fury. You think you can just waltz into our respectable community and erect that? This isn't the Wild West, Mason. Francine, I live here, and I believe I'm a rather upstanding member of the community. A member who builds bunkers and ruins property values. Officer, he's here. He's confessing. This is a code red. I repeat, code red. I rolled my eyes. She was having the time of her life. Then I had an idea. Francine, I said in a hushed, conspiratorial tone. Have you noticed anything odd lately around the neighborhood? Aside from your architectural atrocity? No. I leaned in. I found something. While digging near the property line. Something historic. Francine narrowed her eyes. What kind of historic? I think it's better if I show you. Curiosity, the kryptonite of every HOA enforcer, won out. She followed me to the tarp I'd laid over a curious find from a few weeks prior. With dramatic flair, I peeled it back. Underneath was an intricately carved wooden sign, half-rotted, but legible. It read, "Welcome to the historic site of Cedar Creek Nudist Colony. EST 1908. Francine staggered back, clutching her pearls. New nudists? I nodded solemnly. Apparently, this area was once a haven for free-spirited naturists. But the HOA? The children? Exactly why I need the fence. To protect the historical integrity of the site and shield your begonias from potential exhibitionists. Francine stood frozen. Her face ran the emotional gamut. Shock, horror, curiosity, back to horror. In the distance, sirens wailed. Francine snapped to. Officer, false alarm, she yelled into her phone. No emergency. Everything is perfectly, absolutely fine. She ended the call, eyes flicking between me, the sign, and the unfinished fence. I have important gardening things to attend to, she stammered, before scurrying to her car and peeling away, nearly mowing down a squirrel in her retreat. I exhaled with satisfaction. But the best part hadn't even happened yet. The police cruiser pulled up just as I turned to admire my work. Officer Tasha Miller stepped out, all business. Sir, We received a report about unauthorized construction. Before I could reply, a familiar voice rang out. What in blazes is going on here? Francine Poppy Ether again? It was Norman Beckett, president of the HOA, walking briskly toward us, his press slacks and bow tie impeccable. Officer, he said, extending his hand. Norman Beckett, president of the HOA. And this, he gestured toward me, is Silas Jennings, upstanding member and compliance paragon. Officer Miller blinked. But, the report said. Nonsense, Beckett interrupted. Silas consulted me about this design weeks ago. Tasteful, legal, and dare I say, refreshing. I couldn't help myself. Norman, maybe you should explain why I was so adamant about protecting this space. Norman chuckled. Ah yes, the nudist colony. Officer Miller's jaw dropped. I'm sorry. What? Norman nodded gravely. This land once served as sanctuary to alternative lifestyles. Silas uncovered compelling historical artifacts. Officer Miller gawked at the sign. I need to file a report, but I think I'll be leaving shortly. She retreated to her cruiser, shaking her head. Norman clapped my back. Handled beautifully. Francine will never live this down. Thanks, Norman, I said. Your support means everything. You're a pillar, Silas. And besides, he added with a wink, seeing Francine squirm is a civic duty. Together, we laid the final fence blocks, chuckling about Francine's meltdown. As the dust settled, Norman grew serious. Silas, this isn't the first time Francine's caused problems. She's filed baseless complaints for years. It's time we did something. I couldn't agree more, I said. As HOA president, I can convene a hearing. And I intend to. I was taken aback. You're going to discipline her? Metaphorically, Norman grinned. But effectively. The hearing was announced for the following week. Francine was livid. She marched to my yard, demanding I rescind my complaint. I pointed to the half-buried sign. Think of the nudists, Francine. Think of the children. The day arrived. The community center buzzed with residents. Francine arrived disheveled, cheeks flushed with indignation. Norman calmly laid out the charges. Harassment, false emergency calls, unneighborly conduct. Francine's defense? A rambling sermon on moral decay and concrete. But one by one, neighbors stood up, sharing their stories of Francine's meddling. The vote was unanimous. Francine Poppy Weather was stripped of her HOA clout, fined heavily, and sentenced to community service. But the piece de resistance? She was assigned as a volunteer docent at the Cedar Creek Historical Society, giving nudist colony tours. The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. Harmony was restored. Gardens flourished. Even Francine, begrudgingly, trimmed roses in peace. I completed my fence, added a splash of colorful hydrangeas, and took over tour duties with pride. One golden afternoon, Norman strolled up. Silas, he said, I'm stepping down as HOA president, and I want you to take over. Me. You're fair, sharp, and you survived Francine. That's all the qualifications you need. I thought for a moment. The chance to lead a better, friendlier community? Tempting. And the image of Francine reporting to me? All right, Norman. I accept. He smiled. Excellent. Great things ahead, President Jennings. Great things indeed. And so, I became the HOA president. We held block parties, planted community gardens, and yes, even hosted a nudist-themed costume contest, fully clothed, of course. As for Francine, she muttered about society's decline, but occasionally, just occasionally, I caught a glimpse of something in her eyes. Respect.